Hello everybody, this is Aaron from Sibling Rivalry, and today I'm going to be doing part 2 of my mechanical keyboard build, 3D printing guide thing. So today I'm going to be showing you how to do 3D printed keycaps, and they're not just going to be regular 3D printed keycaps. We're actually going to be kind of following a bit of a older user request, or viewer request I should say, and we're going to be doing dual color 3D printed keycaps on a single extruder machine with no filament splitters, palette, or any other cool features. So to do this, we're going to need Prusa Slicer, and let's cue the intro.
That can make copies of almost anything.
Welcome back from the intro. So, like I said before, we're going to be doing this in Prusa Slicer. If you don't have Prusa Slicer set up, it's actually pretty straightforward. I'm going to upload my configuration file that I have for my Kingroon printers. It's just base profile. So I'm going to be uploading that. We'll have a link down in the comment, not the comments, but the you know what I mean, like the information section, the description. So look for that. We're also going to link any other pertinent files there or links to pages that I mention here. So I've got Prusa Slicer loaded up here, and I've just loaded in these 3 different types of keycaps that I am a fan of. There's this one, which is like a DSA style keycap almost. There is this one, which is almost like a stock cherry, but it's the cool one that I showed you, and we might show some B-roll over top of me talking right now. This is the AMD Logo Keycap, which I find is really cool, and kind of doing with my vaporwave aesthetic. I did it with a like a teal blue almost and a pink. And then this one is kind of more fitting with the vaporwave aesthetic for this keypad. It is a ZX Spectrum Plus, I believe, style keycap. So I'm going to show you how you can do cool color swaps on this. And to get started, we want to slice these. So, it looks like I accidentally clicked the slice button early. So, the way that I have it set up right now, you would have to do the color swap because they'd all be printing at the same time. So you'd have to have the color swap at the same place. It may not work great for the sort of effect that you're looking for. It depends on what you're looking to do. So with this color swap, it only allows you to change the color along the Z-axis. So essentially, it allows you to change it from layer to layer. So what I'm going to do here, I'm actually going to just delete the DSA and delete this ZX Spectrum one, and I'll bring them back in a sec and show you what to do. And I'm just clicking this arrange button here. You could do Shift A as well, as it says there, and that'll center it on the platform. If you have more than one item, it kind of optimizes them to be centered on the platform. So what I'm going to do here is just go through my print settings. I've got everything set to 0.2 millimeter layer height with first layer of 0.35 just for nice adhesion on there. I just do a regular 10% infill, rectilinear infill for top, bottom, and infill. And all my other settings you can kind of take a look at. I keep my extrusion multiplier at 1.04. That's what I've found works great for me. Duncan. Okay, Duncan, you want to come up? Duncan's losing his mind. So I keep my extrusion multiplier at 1.04 just because I find with my filament that works best. You might want to increase or decrease this. If you notice that the walls are coming out thin, you want to increase the extrusion multiplier. If you find that they're coming out a little bulgy or there's like pimples on the side of the print, or goosebumps, or however you want to call it, then you'd want to decrease the extrusion multiplier. So, other than that, everything else is pretty stock on this profile. I've like kind of tweaked a few things. I'm not printing at any ridiculous speeds on the King Rune because both of my printers are running stock hardware right now. I'm looking at modifying them in the future. The only hardware modifications I've made are, other than like changing out the mag plates, I have made a new spool holder, or downloaded one from Thingiverse, but yeah, that's beside the point. One thing you will need, before I get too far ahead here, is you'll need to update your King Rune printer to run Marlin. So you can do that using the TH3D firmware. I'm also going to be working on, well, I am working on my own variant of Marlin firmware. Not really a variant, but just like a compiled version of Marlin for the King Rune. So stay tuned for that. I'll have a video on setting that up. But for now, I'll include a link to where you can get the files and a quick guide for setting up Marlin on your printer. It's really straightforward. You just want to make sure that you back up your original SD card contents before you do that. But yeah, that's the only real requirement other than PrusaSlicer here, which I believe newer versions of Cura have this feature as well. But getting off topic, so I've got the keycap selected. I'm going to click Slice Now. Because I already sliced it, it was pretty quick there. And you can see I've got a brim that prints out, or a skirt, however you want to call it. And it's a few layers thick. And you can see the all the different extrusion lines here. I really like this view in PrusaSlicer. I find much better than what Cura currently offers. So what we're going to do is find the first layer that we want to have the color swap on. So for me, I want the color swap to be right when the AMD logo starts. Now you might think that you want to start it here, but this isn't actually when the filament ends, it's actually when the new filament begins. So you want it to finish this layer, so we're going to select the next layer. Like, you want this to finish with the original filament color, and then switch on the next layer. So we're on the right layer that we want here just by dragging this little slider bar. And what you can do now is just click this plus button, and it adds / deletes color change. You can click the X to remove it, you can add it back, and you're just going to slice again. And now you'll see from there onwards, it prints with that color. Now you could play around with this some more and add some more color changes if you wanted to have it like tricolor or something like that. I would think like somewhere along the base here you might want to change the colors, if anything. And yeah. So that's pretty much all we've got to do, and then we just export this to an SD card, and from there we run the printer. So what this does is it adds a M200 command, and what the M200 command does is it pauses the printer and allows you to swap in new filament, and then waits for you to prompt the printer to start going again. So we'll take a look here. I'm going to export the G code, and we're just going to save it here, and I'm going to open that up. Okay, so I'm just going to open it up here in Notepad. You can see here, generated yada yada yada, and then we go all the way down. Oh, a little too far. I'm just going to do Control F. M600. Find next. There you go. So that's the M600, and it thankfully Prusa Slicer adds in these commented out bits of text that kind of give you a clearer thing. So if you can't find M600, try typing in that in your Control F. And yeah, from there onwards, these are the various different lines and movements to make up the remaining layers and print out the logo. So I'm going to go back, close that out. Now you've got a good idea of what I'm talking about. I'm going to do a bit of experiment here, and we're going to do the I guess I don't have it saved as that. I seem to have forgotten the name of the keycap. Oh well, we'll scroll through here. You can see all the different stuff I've been working on. Blank. Oh, it was just called blank because it's a blank keycap. It's part of a key set on Thingiverse. They have for like the different command keys and whatnot, and then blank for putting in either embossing your own text, or you can print one that has a little embossed square that you didn't put a paper label inside of. So what I'm going to do here, this is just the blank one. I've got a variant of this, I'm remembering now, that I was working on that has, yeah, I've got my, I guess I did ZQ. I don't know why I did ZQ instead of ZX. I was working on QWERTY to do a keypad. And you can see there I have embossed Q in there. And we're going to go in here to the layer height one. It's going to do a quick regeneration of the layers. For this guy, we actually want to increase the layer height to 0.1. Otherwise it's going to come out a little kind of blobby and gross. You can do less for layer height if you want. It depends on your preference. So it's a little better. It's not perfect, but it's better. So what we're going to do here, I'm thinking what might be cool, because all of these should be flush, relatively speaking. I'm going to change the color here so we can do the letter, so that everything from the start of the Q onwards is fine. And then you see that right as the Q finishes the raised keycap part, like the finger nub or whatever you want to call it, forms. And there, I'm going to put in another switch. So we're going to do this as tricolor. So that should have the effect of having the letter be a different color than the keycap face itself, and then we can have the button part be a different color as well. So you can get kind of a tritone thing going on here. And I'm going to slice this. I'm going to take a look, see what the print time's like on this. And I'm going to show you a cool feature that you can do as well. So it's saying it's going to be a total of about 25 minutes or so. I'm going to show you a handy feature you can do if you go back to the 3D mode and you click here, height ranges. So this is the layer heights along the length of the print. So you do left mouse button to add detail, which essentially increases the amount of layers in that area. Right mouse button to remove detail. So I'm going to remove detail from the bottom here because the bottom really doesn't need any detail up until it gets to the top surface. So I think we're going good here. Yeah. And then I'm going to say right around here. Yeah, right around here is where I want to keep it as it is. And then I'm going to actually increase for this little button here. Just increase the layers there. So this is more of a guide for the slicer rather than actually being a direct representation of the amount of layers. And then once you slice it, which it might take a little while longer, you'll see that there are much more layers in this area. Many more, I guess. Versus here, where that's about 27 layers for the base of the keycap versus, let's see, over 20 for literally less than, I guess it's a little bit more than a millimeter. Yeah, we get over 7 millimeters, we have 27 layers, versus over 1 millimeter, we have around the same. So, the much higher resolution, it should come out a lot smoother. And I'm going to export this G-code, and then I'm going to copy this onto an SD card, and we're going to jump to that being printed. Alright, so I have finished the print, and it came out really nice. You might have seen in the time lapse, depending on if it was caught in the frames or not, there was some little mishaps with filament changes, but other than that, everything went great. So you can see it right here. There's the new guy, right there. This one I actually did with some cool filament that I made, and I'll show a video of that in the future. And yeah, honestly, I think the aesthetics working really good here. A nice little thing. And yeah, a few other things you could do with this that's kind of cool is you could actually texture the what's it called, the keycaps differently, especially if you're doing these Spectrum style ones. So you could actually do a filament swap altogether and switch to like a soft PLA rather than just a different color of PLA. So you could go with something that's a little more textured. You can even get like the foaming PLA that they have now, which I've heard the texture of that is different from regular PLA. If you do this out of PVB, you can smoothen them. The only thing you have to keep in mind when you're 3D printing keycaps is if you're doing it on an FDM printer, you definitely will need to use an X-Acto knife to trim down the stems and kind of do some minor cleanup. Like on each of these keycaps, I've had to go in and shave down the sides of the stem as well as open up the keyway. But yeah, other than that, it's pretty straightforward and kind of cool. I'm surprised you don't see too many people doing 3D printed keycaps. I've seen people do like fully 3D printed keyboards, but not a lot of 3D printed keycap sets, which I find kind of interesting. They're out there, the designs are out there, but yeah. So stay tuned for more updates on this. We're going to go through the process for ordering the circuit boards for this and what that's like, and then from there we're going to do some assembly, some soldering, potential stuff you can do for mods, and then we're going to add in the firmware, and that'll be fun. So stay tuned for that. Until then, have a great day. If you liked the video, please please give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate that. If you think you know someone who would love this video or our videos in general, which I know we've got a broad area of topics, which kind of throws some people off, but feel free to share us, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications so you don't miss out on future videos in this series. And we're going to be doing a few more things like this in the future as well, not just this one keyboard video. I've got a few cool things that I'm working on with the new 3D printer, so stay tuned for that. Until then, I'm Aaron from Sibling Rivalry, and hope you have a great day.